Hey everyone. So just wanted to put out a community statement to kind of communicate everything that's been going on. I apologize for the silence over the last week. As you can imagine, it's been extremely challenging, both from a business standpoint, but more so just emotionally and personally. Obviously, I've dedicated most of my life, adult life, to CrossFit and building this gym and building a community. So it has been extremely challenging. I also apologize if I keep looking down because I prepared a bunch of notes before, and I want to make sure that I cover everything that I had to go over. So, like I said, this has definitely been really hard. It kind of didn't feel real at first, and part of the reason that I didn't want to make a statement right away was because I wanted to kind of see everything that unfolded after the fact. And I'm glad I waited because a lot of things have been brought to light. And I think a lot of things are still going to be brought to light in the near future. So kind of wanted to start this by going over why we're detaching from CrossFit. If you haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the CrossFit world, the best place you could probably go is themorningchalkup.com, as they have been covering everything in detail, and they'll do a much better job in their articles and everything than I will, trying to explain it. But first thing that happened is the tweet by Greg Glassman. I don't want to go over everything in detail, but that kind of started everything. And then there was an email exchange between Greg and a longtime affiliate owner. And if you read the email, if you haven't, it's on the Morning Chalk Up. It was extremely sad to see the way he handled himself. And then, you start to see these really important people in our community start to quit working for HQ. And you really know deep down that a lot more went on behind the scenes in order for them to quit. It wasn't just these things. So all of that kind of culminated into a podcast that was released, I believe, yesterday or the day before by Andy Stumpf. If you go on and type in the Cleared Hot podcast, his most recent post discusses his career working for CrossFit after retiring from the Navy SEALs. He worked on the CrossFit seminar staff, and then he also was Greg's personal pilot, and he flew him around, and he saw everything that went on behind the scenes, and a lot of the things that he disclosed were extremely upsetting to hear. And if you haven't read the tweet, if you haven't read the email, and if you haven't listened to the podcast, I strongly suggest you go and do that first. A lot of the reason that we're detaching from CrossFit, a lot of that is going on, and the only response really was an insincere apology from Greg that seemed like some PR firm wrote it for him. And he retired as the CEO, but he still owns 100% of CrossFit, which, if people don't understand the difference, if I was to retire as the head coach of CrossFit Comac, I would still own CrossFit Comac and would have 100% say in what happens with the company. So that's kind of what's going on right now behind the scenes of CrossFit. And I feel that a lot is going to get uncovered still, especially after the Andy Stumpf podcast. I think that a lot of people are going to come out and talk about what went on behind the scenes with CrossFit HQ. And right now, I do not want to have any part in that. I've dedicated a lot of time, energy, money into trying to be a part of the community. And as an affiliate owner, we really didn't get much in return. We used to get a lot more when they had the media team because we had great content to share and to market with. And Greg just decided to fire the entire media team, which was kind of the first thing that made me question being an affiliate owner still. But you have this loyalty to the company that has given you so much. And I want to make that point that CrossFit has given me so much, and I owe so much of my life to CrossFit, and I'm not taking that back. Like, I'm not pretending or delusional to that fact, which is part of the reason that it hurts so bad, is because you've dedicated so much and you had so much passion for this thing, and then there were so many things you didn't know, and it's just very hurtful. So kind of getting back on track with why we're detaching. is there's a lot of stuff that none of us know. And, we represented the brand, and I feel we represented the brand at CrossFit Comac with the utmost integrity. I think the way that we interpreted the level 1 and everything that I've personally gone through from an educational standpoint, I felt like I was extremely by the book and extremely, I lived the lifestyle. And that's part of the reason that when someone's preaching that and saying that they have certain values and then it all turns out to be a lie, it's extremely hurtful. And all along this journey, I have identified what I am and what I'm not. And what I'm not is what's going on right now and what's been going on in their company for a very long time. And I feel that it's just the best thing for myself, the coaches, and the community to be able to define ourselves and have a brand that is a lot more aligned with my values and our values as a community. So getting a little bit into what needs to change in CrossFit, I'm not a very stubborn person, so I'm not saying that I'll never have any association with CrossFit ever again, but there needs to be drastic action by the people that pay the bills for CrossFit in order for there to be drastic change up at the top. And I love seeing the games athletes. Step up because they have huge platforms, but really the affiliates pay the bills for CrossFit. We all pay $3,000 a year, and there are over 10,000 affiliates worldwide. So I think that there needs to be drastic change on our end in order to get the integrity back that we all know that the company can have. So the first change I believe needs to happen is Greg needs to be 100% out of CrossFit. There's no room for someone like that. And it's going to be disturbing to find out even more about what kind of person he was or person he is. But he needs to be 100% out of the picture. I don't care how that happens. I don't care if he has to sell it. I don't care. That's the hard part, is it's a private company and he owns the show. So he can either decide to go down with the ship, or he can decide to do the right thing and get out of the way and allow the community and the people who actually built this company to take it back to a place that it should be. The next thing I think that needs to happen is they need to bring back the media team. I was extremely hurt when he decided to fire the media team. Obviously, again, he has his own motives and has his own vision for the company, but I think it's really important to have an appreciation and understand why the company is what it is. There's no possible way that CrossFit would be the company it is without the media team. And to do what they did and just fire pretty much the entire media team, I think was the beginning of the end. And I think that those people deserve to come back. From an affiliate owner standpoint, having professional content that we could share within our local communities, it helped bring more people to our gyms. I know tons of people have come to us because they've seen the films that have been put out. And I think that the stories are what touch people. And there's no better way to share stories than with the YouTube and the documentaries and all of the content that they put out. And I think that once they got away from that, it really felt like headquarters was unplugged from all of its affiliates. I think that not one person should own the company. So, and again, I want to disclose, I don't know how to run a corporation on a large scale. These are just my opinions of what I think should change. I don't think one person should run the company, just like I don't believe that one person should run our country, but that's a completely different thing. But I think that there should be a board of directors for each department of CrossFit. So right now you have the affiliate department, the training department, which is the educational department, the games department, and then CrossFit Health. And then hopefully they would bring back the fifth department, which would be the media department. And I believe that there should be 3 representatives for each department. The reason I say that is because as a gym owner who owns a gym with someone else, being my dad, it's extremely hard to make decisions, even if one has majority ownership, when there's only 2 people in the room. And I think it would be a lot more beneficial to have 3 representatives per department, so it was always majority rules. And there would need to be a checks and balances system to keep any sort of politicking out of that. But I think that having the people who built the brand and who are representations of the brand in those seats is way more valuable than having somebody who can kind of just be a dictator over the whole thing. The last thing that I think CrossFit needs to do is to have benefits and support for their affiliates. Like I said, I know the training department brings in a ton of revenue for the company, and I know the affiliates bring in a ton of money for the company. I think that the affiliate owners would love the support and guidance of CrossFit, and I think that there should be some benefits to being an owner. There used to be a lot more when, like I said, there was the CrossFit Journal being published every month. There was the media team putting out great content for us to share with our local communities. And I believe there are a lot more benefits that are needed, but those are the bare minimum that needs to be brought back. So there are a lot of changes that need to happen for HQ in order to get back on track. And none of this really goes over like leadership or anything, but I do believe that that board of directors could put things in a better direction. Until then, like I said, I want nothing to do with it. It's their mess, and all of us affiliate owners have businesses to run, and we have our own lives to worry about. And it makes me really sad because a lot of my identity is being a CrossFitter, being a CrossFit affiliate owner, and I'm essentially having to detach myself from this global community that I cherish and I love so much. But like I said earlier, there's no way that I can associate with that right now. In terms of more related to our community, I know it's probably a little stressful. What does rebranding mean? So I just want to make things very clear that our community is not going to change at all. Rebranding has nothing to do with our community. Our services will not change at all. If anything, I would like to make our services better because this has caused a lot of reflection, and it has made me realize that we can take the best of what we've learned from CrossFit and we can dial it in more specific to our community, and I can take the education I have from other sources, whether that's more of the mobility, flexibility side of things, or whether that's all the specialty courses I've ever taken, and we can really start to define who we are. And I like that freedom, and I really like that idea that we don't have to be associated with that. So I just want to make that clear that our community is not going to change, our events are not going to change, our service is not going to change, so we're not changing the format or the way that we run our classes or our services. The only thing that's really going to change is the name. And like I said, and I'm going to continue to reiterate, is the rebranding is extremely appealing because we can define and clearly put out the message of what our values are and what our community values are. And we and only we are responsible for that. We don't have to worry about the actions of people outside of our realm. And that is a very appealing thing right now. So I really want to, and we already have been over the last week, defining who we are, why are we even in business, what do we want to achieve by owning this business, and how are we going to do that? And that took a lot of, like I said, reflection and thinking, and we're excited, and I'm very excited to launch the new brand tomorrow. But I just wanted to kind of reassure our athletes that nothing is going to change in terms of, nothing will change for you. It's more so for us on the back end of things. And then you'll have new apparel, and we'll get some new stickers for you to kind of rep the new brand. In terms of reopening, obviously this is a little chaotic in the midst of a pandemic and being closed for several months. After our Murph training, we took about 2 weeks off just to kind of resettle, and now we've put together the Project 5K, which is our progressive training program to test and retest our 5K run time. And that's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time for our community, and this seemed like the best opportunity because everyone has access to different equipment right now, everyone has different things, and it's really hard to settle on a specific benchmark when we all have access to different stuff, whereas running is very straightforward. We don't need any equipment. So I really wanted to capitalize on that opportunity. I will be releasing the free ebook of the Project 5K, not just for our community, but just on my Instagram page for anyone that wants to follow along with it. So that's something I'm really excited about, kind of leading us back to our reopening. Something that some of our members and athletes have reached out about was outdoor workouts. And it's something that people have said, oh, well, I've seen other gyms offering on like outside workouts or stuff like that. I'm not sure, and I'm not responsible for what anyone else does but us. And my dad and myself have done the responsible thing by calling the town and calling the authorities and seeing what we're allowed to do. And we are not allowed to, we're not allowed to organize right now. And we're not allowed to teach or instruct in any sort of way, which we obviously see is going on. But like I said, I'm not responsible for what other people are doing. But I'll tell you, just be straight up with you, the cost of one person's membership is not going to help me as badly as the fines that I could get from the town or the city or whatever. That would just put us out of business, and that would affect way more people than just a few people who want to do outdoor workouts. We are, however, allowed to gather in small groups in an unorganized fashion, and we are allowed to get together and work out together as long as we're socially distancing. So I think it would be a great idea to start by getting together at the track on Wednesdays and Saturdays for our Project 5K workouts, because this way members aren't lugging equipment back and forth to the track or to the park. It's really easy for everybody to kind of get together. So we're working on kind of figuring out maybe a morning and evening schedule for that. This way we can get the community back together, get some people training together, but it's an informal way, and we're operating within our legal rights right now. The last thing I really wanted to go over was our reopening timeline. So as of right now, it looks like we're going to reopen between July 15th and July 20th. Like I said, again, some gyms might open earlier. I've already heard of other gyms opening and then getting closed down. We're doing everything by the book, and I sincerely hope that our community can appreciate that and value that we're doing that. So as of right now, we are scheduled to be open between July 15th and July 20th. We're just going to continue to follow the phase timeline and do whatever we're allowed to do. So that is our goal. We are going to put out more information in the near future as we get closer to that timeline about reopening policies, class reservations, and all of that. So this video was a much more to kind of address the community and keep you guys up to date about everything going on with CrossFit and the rebrand. And then we'll continue to speak to you about as we reopen. The one thing I will say about reopening is we'll have limited classes. The people who still have their memberships will have precedent over those class times. So if you're somebody who supported us through this whole thing and you still have a membership, you will be guaranteed to get class spots from the start. And then we'll have some sort of phase structure to allow members to unfreeze their memberships, and then we'll eventually start allowing new members to come to the gym as we get a little bit more information about what our timeline is going to look like. So I hope this went over everything. You know, I apologize again, even for the tone. This has definitely been extremely challenging, and it's been hard, like I said. And I really hope that our community can see that I'm doing this because it's not easy, but because it's what I feel is right, the right thing to do. And to me, that's all I really care about. Personally devastated that I'm no longer going to be a part of CrossFit, but I think that it's going to take action on our end and theirs for anyone to get anywhere. So if you guys have any questions for me personally, feel free to text me if you have my number. If you don't, reach out to joeyaducci@gmail.com. It's joeyaducci@gmail, or joeyaducci@gmail.com. We are in the process. We're going to have to, so the way it's going to work is we're going to release the new brand on Instagram with a blog post kind of going over everything tomorrow. And then over the next week or so, we'll be working on rebuilding our website and rebuilding all of our media platforms to align with the new brand. So if you guys have any questions or feedback for me, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for listening or watching.